All right, what's happening, everybody? Happy Monday. As you see, I'm in a different area. I traveled down to New York City today to kind of hang out a little bit and check out the city and what's going on out here. So I'm not going to be able to. The good news, I'm not going to be interrupted by ducks and chickens and donkeys. But also, I'm not going to be so crazy and loud because I'm in somebody's office right now. Let me pin this comment right here, and I don't want to disturb the good people working. Hold on 1 second. Post. Oh, no, that's wrong. I keep messing up this damn. Okay, let me post it again. How's everybody doing out there? Please feel free to check in. And I'll shout you out when I can. Make sure you shout out your name, though, when you're checking in. Because it's so hard to read some of these avatars or some of these sign-in names. Okay, I think I got it. Move for business. Okay. All right, everybody, I took my Wi-Fi off so that we can see if it's pausing before I get into it. I know it could be annoying when these things are happening. Let's check in. Taryn, how's my video right now going? Everybody, please give me a thumbs up or a thumbs down. Is it a little bit better? She's saying better. What are you guys saying? Let me know. Can I proceed? Say yes, indeed, if you think. All right, everybody said good now. All right, thank you so much. So by the way, I'm going to show you what's happening right here. Taryn, I'm going to show them your screen. Show them, see, I have somebody in my office on Zoom sending me things. You see that right there? They're typing in things on if I get off course or if I have a poor connection, and so that's a little something you guys can do if you are out there doing live broadcasts and things, or maybe you're having conversations and you want somebody to help guide you through the conversation or keep you on point or tell you to shut up or tell you you're talking too much or tell you to explain some more things. So boom, I think the whole broadcast is over. You just learned something, a really valuable point on what you can do. All joking aside, but it is something, a little key that you can do. Of course, you have to have two phones, have somebody go on Zoom on the other side, and boom, 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 be typing on the side screen, and that's kind of like when you're on television and newscasts and people are sending in things to you. All right, so let's reset. They're still saying poor connection right here. Taryn, am I still having a poor connection? Please let me know. It's a little better, but still not perfect. What should I do, Ted? Got to keep going?
No, I mean, the Wi-Fi was working well.
All right, guys, please hold on. I just want to make sure it's still pausing. Hold on, everybody. I'm sorry for the delay. In the middle of this delay, I'm going to use my girl Beauty Shark Ginger's product right here. It's called Fan Love Beauty. What are we doing? All right, I'm going to try it again. All right, everybody. And I'm so sorry about this. Worst scenario is I will edit this thing up here and post it out again. But please bear with me and be patient. How are we doing right now, Taryn? Please let me know. Seems good. All right, listen, I'm going to move forward. Anyway, again, I don't mean to repeat myself, but this is Power Shift Your Week presented by T-Mobile for Business. And thank you, T-Mobile, for being willing to give all these resources to great entrepreneurs out there. And if you're a business owner looking for even more insights, head on over to tmobile.com/business and take advantage of all the amazing resources they have available to you. Now, segment number 1 is, did you know? All right, this is where you learn. All right. So here's an interesting fact. A study conducted by market research firm OnePoll of 2,000 Americans found that 80% of them feel like they were stuck in a rut with their daily routine. And I guess let me see, when was that poll? I don't know when that poll was taken, but how are you feeling now these days if you're stuck in a rut with your daily routine? What? Because of obviously COVID and everything going on. If you're feeling like you're stuck in a rut, please raise your hand, and then I'm going to tell you what I think about that. And if you don't feel like you're stuck in a rut, say, no, I'm not stuck in a rut. I'm doing well. Let me see how many people raising their hand or how many people saying that they're all good. Somebody said, what percent? They said 80%. It said 80%. Somebody wanted to know, 80% of people feel like they're stuck in a rut. Raising your hand. A lot of hands going up. All right, so let me explain something to you. So there's no difference, right? As many of you know, that I used to travel 250 days a year. Now all of a sudden everything just shifted. And my experience with what has happened is that immediately the first, I say, week or two, I was, going out every day, and I was working out with my wife because I was like, man, it's almost like a 2-week or 3-week vacation. Let me just get this out of the way. And I was just doing that. However, I was still in the fog of what was going on in the world, but it didn't matter. I started doing that. Then all of a sudden I started slipping into the bad habits of hearing about the spiking in New York at the time and hearing what was going on. And I started to, binge watching Tiger King, and then hitting the Cheetos and everything that owes, right? Cheetos, Doritos, and Tito's. I was just going in. And I was staying up late, and I was kind of, all the pressure on what was going on in the world was starting to just become overwhelming. And the gyms were closed. Even though I was working out, we were walking big distances, but all of a sudden a lot of people started to be outside, and I didn't necessarily want to be outside. Then we come up to New York, and I kind of kept that same kind of mentality. I was all of a sudden now where I had a nice big property. I could just relax by a fireplace. I never got to really enjoy that space for a long period of time. So I was barbecuing and grilling. And then I turned around and I said to myself, I'm going to go back to shooting Shark Tank. And I don't think I'm going to be able to see the table in front of me when I shoot Shark Tank, because my belly is going to be so big. I'm not even going to be able to get to my notes. I'm going to have to lift my belly up, move it to the side, and get to the notes. Then they're going to be all sweaty and all kind of stuff like that. So obviously I started to gain more weight. And I said to myself, what am I not changing in my workout or whatever I'm doing? Because when I was on the road, I used to walk wherever I was to free my mind. I used to do some push-ups, to do things like that. And I said, well, let me get up in the morning immediately and work out. I've never been a morning person. But because I was hanging out so late at night, because the whole day was stressful with all the calls and everything else, I would have a cocktail. And when you have a cocktail, you know what happens. That leads to 2, that leads to 3, that leads to I'm not getting up in the morning, that leads to I'm going to eat something nasty and disgusting in the morning. So I decided to change my routine to do something I'd never done before. I start working out at 6 o'clock in the afternoon. So 6 or 7. I try to get up early, do all my calls, go through everything. 6, 7 o'clock, I start to work out. Before you know it, I don't feel like anything. I don't want anything heavy on my body because you eat a hamburger or you grill something or even a drink. You just feel like it's just heavy because your body and your adrenaline is running. And that started to move my routine back, and it's something that I never did before, but I had to learn to adapt to it. Now, I don't think I'll keep that routine forever. I really don't. But that's the good part about it. We get stuck in our ways when we say to ourselves, things are going to go back to normal, and I'm going to go back to working out then or making these calls then or doing this or doing that. But what if they don't go back to normal for quite some time? So do your, I know you've overheard it, do your new normal. Your new normal today doesn't mean that it's going to be your new normal in the future. Or maybe it will be. Maybe when we go back to where we are, you still will be at home because you've learned how to work and be more productive from home. But you got to start changing your routine because unless you're in a super happy place, if you are in a super happy place, then don't change anything. Try to slowly improve it, perfect it, right? Don't change anything. But I wanted to give you that stat because we're all stuck in certain places like these. And one of the things that stopped me from having that evening cocktail as much, not only the working out part, but remember what I always say, what is your why? You know what I realized? That time that I was doing that, when I got up in the morning, I got up a little bit later than I would like to. The baby gets up at 8, sometimes 7. I didn't get time to spend breakfast with her because I was so busy getting ready for the broadcast on the day. So the working out is, of course, to be in shape, to hopefully make sure that I beat this cancer off of me and drink water that's alkaline, right? To keep alkalining my body, right? But more importantly, it's the hour in the morning I can spend with my daughter and we can have a good little conversation, because all of a sudden when we get out of this thing, I'm going to be back on the road heavy and I'm going to miss those hours, maybe those 200 hours in the morning being able to play with her. So the working out is going to give me the energy to get up early to be there, and that is my why. So, I want to give you that. So that's the segment of Did You Know, and how these small little adjustments can make changes to your life, and you are not alone. We are all having to make adjustments. I think the COVID thing has just highlighted things. If you are miserable in your life, you're going to be more miserable. If you're happy with your significant other, you're going to be amazed with that person. If you are not taking care of yourself, you're going to get worse. If you are taking care of yourself, you're going to get better. And hopefully if you're getting better when you're taking care of yourself, if you're finding any of these things or remedies starting to work for yourself, share it with other people. Because a lot of people are thinking they're in a bubble all by themselves, and no, they're not, and you can help them. So anyway, that is my segment of Did You Know? And of course, I'm probably going to have a challenge, as you already know, towards the end that has something to do with that. Now, segment number 2 is motivation mix. Check out my playlist on Spotify. But right now, I'm going to give you the motivation mix by my girl. I mean, I've seen this girl go through so much, and every single woman here probably knows her. And if you don't know her, I don't know what planet you're on, but if you do know her, she's been through it. And so there's nobody better to give somebody, to mention a motivational mix by my girl Mary J. Blige and her song Just Fine, right? Check out the lyrics. No time for moping around. Are you kidding? And no time for negative vibes, because I'm winning. It's been a long week. Yeah, and it's only Monday. It's been a long week. I put in my hardest. Gonna live my life. Feels so good to get it right. It's been a long week for me. It's only Monday. But you know what? This is why I love it. I love her song, because no matter what the time and whatever you do during the end of the week, you have to reflect on it and see if you put it all in, if you left it all in the field, or if you did not leave it all in the field and you did not put it all in, what more can you improve in your week? But no matter what, that time is now past and you can't change it. You've only got to be able to learn from it. And I guess that's why, people all somebody said the screen is frozen. Let me make sure it's not frozen anymore. What's up, Robert? How you doing? Give me the thumbs up if the screen is still frozen. Not frozen? Okay, cool. All right. Emerald Melody. All right. So please go check out my Spotify list of other songs. My motivational mix on Spotify. Put in my name and motivational mix, and you'll come up with a lot of songs right there that motivates me and keeps me going. All right. So now I'm going to I'm going to bring somebody on who, if they can't motivate you, I don't know who else can. It's T-Mobile for Business. Hi.
Hi, how are you?
I'm good. Is my screen frozen with you, or you got me?
No, you're good. You'll pause every once in a while, but for the most part, you're fine.
All right. How you doing? Pleasure to meet you.
Yeah, nice to meet you too. I'm so excited we get to talk.
I am too. Listen, I'm looking at some of the stuff and some of the stuff that you're posting, and I absolutely find some of the stuff amazing. But I have some questions, and I know that you're going to have a couple of questions for me as well, right?
Yeah, definitely.
All right. So I'm looking at this thing right now, and I'm going to just put it up. This is my little records here. Now, you see this, right? This is yours.
Yeah, oh, you printed it.
Yeah, I printed it out.
I
All
love
right.
it.
Now, if everybody can look at that, and I don't know if they can you folk, can they see it? Can you see it
It's
well
flipped.
enough?
It's like backwards.
Okay, I'll read it to you. It shows a mouth open right here. So it basically says anatomy of an ally.
Mm-hmm.
It shows a mouth right here, and it says a mouth to speak out against injustice. All right. Then it shows a nose right here. All right. And the nose says a nose to sniff out implicit bias.
Yeah.
Eyes, and it says eyes to identify privilege. Ears says ears to listen to the what experience?
The people of color experience. So POC stands for
Oh,
people of color. I
POC.
think that's what it
Okay.
says.
Yes, it is. And my eyes are bad. And a heart to cultivate empathy for the oppressed, and
Mm-hmm.
hands to take action to make change. Okay,
Perfect.
to make the
You
change.
nailed
All
it.
right. So let me ask some questions because I have people on here, and I'm sure you do. You probably have more than me because the reason why you're gaining so much traction is because people are they want to do something, right? They don't
Mm-hmm.
know where to start. Some people feel frustrated, and you're giving
Right.
them some step-by-step things that everybody can do, and maybe they can take home to them to their friends or family, or be a little more educated when they talk about the issues going on. But when you put an I that says eyes to identify privilege, what does that mean? Explain that to me.
Yeah, definitely. So I talk about privilege in a pretty broad sense, in the sense of there's all kinds of privilege. In this context, especially with racial injustice happening in America, I was speaking specifically to white privilege. But basically, it's saying, you know, given the state that I'm living in and given the advantages that are afforded to me, I have certain privileges that others do not. For example, someone who has socioeconomic privilege has more money than someone else and may be able to work from home or not necessarily have to be a frontline essential worker. And so in the grand scheme of things, in terms of racial injustice, it's really important for somebody who is white, especially who wants to be an ally, to say, okay, let me take inventory of the advantages and privileges that are in my life and see what I have that I can use to uplift and support marginalized or oppressed communities. So I found that to be a super important first step, especially for someone who wants to work at being an ally or someone who actively supports and takes action when fighting for justice and equity.
How would they know though that they're privileged until they see the marginalized community in their face being marginalized? You know, because right now I have a friend who operates a company that's very, very large, and he said to me, "Listen, I spoke to the people of color in the company, and I said to them, you know, these racial injustices and all this, and they weren't mad. They were like, yeah, we've dealt with this all our lives. You know, it wasn't an angry part." He said, but the white kids in my company, they want to hurt people. They're upset. They didn't know that this was happening. They are saying, we gotta stop it because, you know, because they may have had people of color as friends or whatever, and they just never realized that how challenging it was or is, excuse me, for us. And now, and of course, this is the beauty of the movement, right? They're younger, and they know you, they may know you, and they may work with you, and they may have worked with you for 2 years, but they had no idea you or your cousin or your family were going through that, and now they're pissed off and they want change, right? So how do you know? How do you spot privilege when you've just been living your life? Because on the other hand, and I'm just playing both sides. I've been around the world. I've been around the world where you can't protest. They will just kill you. I've been around the world where you don't eat. I've been around the world where women can only do two things, and they carry the economy on their back because they have to walk 10 miles a day in the morning to bring water home on their head and food. And then they bring that water home and they start cooking the food. And then they walk another 10 miles to go and get water to bring back for people to bathe. And so we're privileged too, in an extent, right? So how do we have those conversations? How do you identify when, you know, or is that person having to take an inner reflection and go, all right, I'm seeing too many of these things happening. There's got to be something wrong. You know what I mean? So does it come from you telling them they're privileged? Does it come from them saying, you know?
Yeah. Well, recently, especially I think I can give credit to the mass awakening that's happening with especially white people who are like, wow, like you said, I didn't realize all of this was happening. I think a big part of it is the fact that because of the deaths of George Floyd and Breonna Taylor and things that were, you know, we had a lot more evidence, I guess you could say, now than people have said in the past. There's like, oh, you can't really prove that this was police brutality or race-based. So I feel like in the present time, we're having a lot more of these things caught on film. There's a lot more evidence, and people in your direct spheres of influence, like your family and your friends, are starting to speak up more because now that they feel like the majority of people at large are ready to listen. So I think a big part of it, which is why I put the ears on that specific piece, like ears to listen to the experiences of people of color. I feel like the awakening is happening because people are choosing to listen. As people of color, marginalized, oppressed communities are speaking up and saying, here's what we're dealing with. Here's the racism. Like, we dealt with it all our lives. Some people are actually kind of insulted that it's taken so long for the community at large to acknowledge and respect it. But I feel like people are starting to become awakened to it because they're having to listen to the experiences of the people that they love. And they have to come to the decision of, am I going to change what I've believed all this time because I'm hearing these opinions, or I'm going to stick to what I thought I knew and risk hurting the people that I love?
But let me ask something else. You know, so I happen to be married to a woman that happens to be white, right? My first wife is Dominican. My beautiful African American mother who fought for civil rights loves my wife more than she loves me. She had to approve of my wife. Um, my wife has a mixed child. Obviously, we have a mixed child who will grow up in the same system that we are in right now. And, in the event something happened to her, she will always be, or not always be, but looked at as a person of color, right? I walk down the street with my wife, until they see it's me. She's an N
Mhm.
lover. You know what I mean? So
Mm.
she deals with a lot of stuff, and she has dated men of both colors. She was in the store the other day, and thank God she had her mask on or whatever and her glasses. And she had a little tiff with the woman at the counter. And then people started coming around her. Our people started coming around her, not knowing that she's with a man of color, and saying, "Hey, what's up, Karen? What's up?" Putting the video on her face and calling her a racist because the girl at the counter happened to be of color and my wife was not. How do we not become the thing that we're fighting against?
Well, I can only speak for myself. Something that happens a lot when people come in contact with my art is that they say, you know, you are a lot more compassionate than a lot of other people, or I like hearing from you because you speak it in a way that's loving. And a lot of times the reason that this is said is because it's comfortable. The way it comes from me is more comfortable and palatable. And I think that I always say, like, we can't hold everyone to that same standard of the way they deliver information because the weight of oppression is heavy. So a lot of people feel it in different ways. Now, that's not to say that we can go out and just randomly, sporadically accuse everyone of being racist or, do things that are completely unwarranted, similar to the example you just mentioned. But at the same time, I have to acknowledge that there's a lot of hurt and there's a lot of pain, especially with the Black community. And while not everyone may know how to deal with it or express it in the most healthy or beneficial way that doesn't continuously hurt other people, part of what I aim to do is to not only provide a lot more education out there, but to say, hey, like, I understand that we're all learning and we're growing. And because there's a lot of hurt in the community, I want to be someone who's willing to do the education, who's willing to and sometimes speak up for people who don't feel like they have the strength to speak up for themselves, or people that just don't know how to frame or express their hurt and their pain in a way that's productive or conducive to change. So that's what I
Well,
think.
I love the way you're doing it. I think that, and I'm going to let you answer my question after one more thing. Um, how do we do this around the board? Period. The women's movement started really in 1965, and then it took 60 years later for there to be a pig like Weinstein to bring it to the point where there has been substantial change, where our mothers, our daughters, and sisters can have their day in court or be able to be able to not be as held back. But of course, there's negativity when it comes to, today we're so separated because of a lot of, obviously, the obvious thing right there. We're supposed to hate immigrants. We're supposed to, we have obviously challenged women, people of color, Asians. I mean, it's from China. China. I mean, this is what we do these days. Can we do this anatomy of an ally to everybody and everything that we just feel when we see an injustice happening? Can we add this? Can we, address a
Can it
lot of issues
apply?
with the same theory? Yes.
Yeah, it can definitely apply. When I actually made that piece, it was during Black History Month when I had maybe like
Mm.
8,000 followers. And I had just made it to say, like, hey, I feel like I have a community here who's willing to learn more about these issues because I'm making them pretty. So I was like, maybe I can illustrate, now that it's Black History Month, a way for non-people of color or non-Black people to step up and be an ally in that context. But I definitely think that a lot of those principles can apply across the board, like, especially like you just mentioned, like xenophobia and racism targeted at Asian communities,
Yeah.
which is completely unacceptable. And we as Black people even have a responsibility to be allies for the Asian community. So I definitely feel like it can be applied to tons of different contexts.
All right.
Definitely.
Well, I love what you're doing. So talk to me. Give me some questions. I'm sure they're
Some
going to be,
questions.
yeah, they're going to be tough because obviously you're a little bit smarter than I am, but I will try to address some of them.
Wow. Okay. Well, I'm really excited. So I was a business major. I went to school for business administration. I thought I was going to be an event planner, but now I'm doing this. So I consider myself a pretty multi-passionate creative. So I have a lot of things that I have my hands in. Before art kind of took off, I was a social media strategist and I did management and consulting. And I had to kind of put that on the back burner because I felt the calling to this. And so business wise, it's been great. Like I'm selling prints and everything and it's super cool, but I might want to get back into consulting and I might want to explore other things. And I'm always all over the place because of, being creative and being multi-passionate. So my question is, what is the best way to balance wanting to pursue a whole bunch of different ventures without A, getting burnt out, or B, not giving my best to multiple projects at once?
Really good question. So you're asking how to walk and chew bubblegum at the same time, which is challenging for everybody. And me, as somebody who was, you could basically say some level of a designer, I always wanted to go into new, right? I didn't. The question is, where are you finding the most passion, and how can you combine the areas you want to go? How can you move them all into the one area that you're finding the most passion? So, you see that what I started to do was I didn't look at FUBU as only a clothing line. I looked at it as something to motivate people. I didn't look at it then only a clothing line. I looked at it as a record label. And even today, we're getting offers for FUBU to be, we have cellular and other things, because if we're going to be able to deliver you great content, we're still doing the FUBU thing. It's just hip hop content to your cellular device.
Right.
People have asked about, can you do healthy soul food in the frozen food section, right? It still would be soulful because it's FUBU. So you may have said, well, I want to be a designer, I want to put out clothes, and then I want to start a healthy food business. But a lot of times, some of these things can tap into each other. Now,
okay,
granted, I don't want you to be, a jack of all trades, and then in the FUBU situation, you sell them a shirt and then you put a chicken leg in their mouth, and then those are both FUBU, because somebody says, what the hell are you talking about? But you have to go narrow and deep on the one thing that's making it for you, and those things grow. It's just that you're creative and you're excited about it, but you really got to go narrow and deep, because it takes a long time for people to really understand your brand. And after you introduce your brand to them, you've created a promise. You created a promise that you are supposed to deliver on. And when they go, wait a minute, I bought you here, but why do you keep doing this? The time that I find that you will expand is when your customers are asking you to expand.
Okay.
You see what I'm saying? When they're like, I got enough of this, I love it. Man, can you add this? I mean,
right.
But now I'm not sure what you're talking about, because you may be talking about things in two hugely different realms. I'm not certain. So another thing that I like what Barbara does. She puts down her A's and her priorities. She puts down her priorities. She puts them down in two different sections, A and B, because she knows that the B's are eating up her time to get to A. The B's are not so important. The A's are super important. Sometimes you do that. What you'll notice sometimes, you ever had a bunch of papers on your desk or a bunch of notes in your phone, and you look 6 months later and you never got to them and you couldn't care less anymore about them?
Absolutely.
That's your A's and your B's. Start to do that. It'll help home in. Now, the other part of your question was, how do you not get burnt out doing it? Well, sacrifice is, what it is, right? It's giving up something of lesser value for something of greater value. It depends on what you're sacrificing. I don't know. I don't know if you have kids. I don't know if you want to sleep more. I don't know if your social life will hurt. I don't know if you want to give a part of your job. But it really boils down to what's so important. I was on the phone with a young man the other day, and he said to me, he said, man, I'm 28 years old. I'm really confused. I hate to have to say that at 28 years old. I didn't go to high school. I didn't go to college. I've tried a lot of things, and I may be getting laid off from my job here. My job wasn't paying me that much anyway. I said, well, why don't you read a bunch of books and do this and this and that? He said, well, I can't necessarily do that because, I have a kid, and I have another one on the way. I was like, I hate to break it to you, but that's your priority. You decided to have the kid. You decided to have unprotected sex, and you decided to have another one. So if you want to do what you need to do now, then you are going to have to sleep 2 hours less. He said, I'm only sleeping 4 hours. That's your problem because you made those other things a priority.
That's good.
So your sacrifice. When we ask about our sacrifices, we have really tough questions to make. I'm making really tough decisions now about sacrifice.
Mm-hmm.
Listen, I'm 51 years old. There's an invisible an invisible enemy out there. I can't be free like I would like to be, and you would think that I worked so hard all my life. And I want to be able to be out there and hang out and be around people. My daughter, I cannot put her into school because she may come back out of school and give it to me. So I'm going to have to deal with these things. We're going to all have to make sacrifices. Just which one is more important to you?
Right.
All right.
That's
Got another
good.
one for me?
Yes. Thank you so much. That was a really good answer.
Oh, no problem.
Let's see. So, because I'm entering in a relatively new space, as a Black woman in illustration online, it was mostly a predominantly white women dominated space. And so I'm coming in there with a lot of fresh new things. It's kind of uncharted territory as I go into making resources that help with anti-racism and things like that. My question is, because I seek to serve like mission-based consumers and brands, and this is a relatively new frontier, do you have any advice for someone who's kind of paving their own way, in the sense of like, what things should I look out for as I try to build up something new that might not already exist? If you have any tips like that, I would love to hear.
I don't know because I have this theory that nothing is new; it's just a new form of delivery, or you find a new customer.
Yes, that's it.
Um,
Yes.
maybe I would go and study the people who have done things a little similar, maybe mahogany. I know they have Hallmark may be huge, but mahogany found a way to carve their little way out and talk with sensibility. I would find ways to collaborate with those other people who don't speak your language and have a
That's good too.
collaboration with them, right? Because what you're doing is they're borrowing their customer and they're borrowing yours.
Mm-hmm.
And to be a prime example of somebody who is talking about inclusion and identifying the strengths of others and helping those, then if you collaborate, you're showing everybody exactly how you're doing it and they can do it.
Mm-hmm.
Right? So I think that those are ways to do it. When we went into sections and stores, with FUBU, we got mad. We would not give the stores the stuff that they're putting in the urban section. We were like, what is this, the Black people section? And what makes
Yeah.
it Black? Did Black people make it or Black people are
Yeah.
wearing it? What makes it Black? You
Mm-hmm.
have to put us in the denim section next to Levi's and
Right.
and Ralph Lauren, because when somebody comes in there, they want to see it all. You know what I'm saying? So
Yeah,
I
that's so
think
good.
that's the way you should think about it.
Okay, perfect. This is really helpful. I have one more question.
No problem.
So, because of art on social media really taking off this year, I'm having a lot of issues with like copyright and intellectual property, and people feeling they have a right to it because they saw it and it's pretty. So I guess, should I be more aggressive in actively protecting my copyright when people want to take it and use it outside of social media, even though I am in a way posting it on social media for everyone to see? Do you have any insight with that?
Really, really great question. Copywriting and trademarks are various different things. Copywriting is your intellectual property like that. Trademark, it could be a logo design, something like that. You can spend a lot of money copywriting these things. What I would be doing is you want people to share it, but you want
Yes.
to protect it. All right. So it's kind of like you want to maybe trademark it or copyright it. You want to put that C there. You may want to watermark it, but you want people to share it. It's the same way that there's a very famous artist right now named Alec Monopoly. Puts the Monopoly Man all over the country, all over the world. I've actually seen it in a lot of places. Monopoly does not bother him at all. It's advertising.
Yeah.
You see what I'm saying? So you want people to share it as much as possible, but you want to hopefully be able to, and you being smarter than me in the area of course, graphic design, how can you intertwine your name, your copyright, or your stuff in there somewhere? You may find some really creative ways to do it. This tree may have had always something in there that has something to do with you and in your stuff, and so
Yeah.
they can't get rid of the curves on the tree all of a sudden. So when you put all these things here, if this thing was just your D was somewhere in this part right here, they're never going
Right.
to be able to get rid of that, right? But you don't
Yeah.
want to put
Making my
it
watermark bigger.
right. You don't want to put it just right here because then all of a sudden somebody will just cover it. You
Yeah.
want to put it within the intricacy of the design.
Okay. Perfect.
All
Well, you
right.
answered my questions perfectly. Thank you so much for this time.
All the best. So thank you so much for what you're doing because you're really doing God's work by taking on your talent and using it where people could feel good about it and not offended or whatever and make it shareable. Especially because your message, make it shareable. Because listen, I'm dyslexic, so this is basically how everything looks to me. Right? The only things that I read needs to look like this. If not, it better be an audio. Right? I need a speak and spell, or I need somebody to finger paint for me. So, I'm the kind of person that anything comes with instructions, I throw the instructions away. You know. So this is really important, and keep sharing what you're doing. And I really appreciate you and T-Mobile for Business for highlighting beautiful people like you and changing the world.
Oh, yay. Thank you so much again. This was really fun. Thanks
All the
so much.
best. Thank you. Bye.
Bye.
You know, there needs to be somebody with a social, like a Zoom etiquette type of thing, because she came in the room so bright and so bubbly, with a smile that it just makes you want to talk to her, makes you feel infectious about it, talking to her. So really, really, really great. Thank you for, thank you guys for tuning into her, and of course, and go and check her out. She's obviously super smart. Hopefully some of those tips help. But, Danielle Koch is her name, and you can find her at Oh Happy Danny. Oh Happy, OH Happy, HAPPY, Danny, DANI. And you can definitely share some of the stuff with you. All right, so now my next part is, of course, the challenge of the week. And, so here's the challenge I want to give you all. Try out a few different rise and grind methods: goal setting, scheduling out your day, spending time with your family, as I opened up with. I wrote the book Rise and Grind. I showed you my schedule in the book Rise and Grind, and my schedule is absolutely different. And that's why I loved, obviously, Rise and Grind, because that book is going to be around for the next 100 years, because the Daymond John at 20 no longer could do the same things he did at 20. So then I have other tips there at 30, at 50. And now, obviously, the Daymond John at 50 couldn't do things he was doing 3 months ago because of the situation that we're in. But I really appreciate everybody, and I hope that you've learned some cool and little great tips. I'm going to shout out a couple of people right here. Please feel free to put your name in and where you're from, and I want to shout you out really quick before I sign off, because I know all of you are busy and you got a busy week ahead of you. So make sure you put all your names in there. Let me see who's out there right now. And tomorrow I got, of course, at 2 o'clock. Let me tell you who else I got on my Power Talk. At 1 o'clock. Tomorrow, 1 o'clock, I'll be bringing on Yuval Ben Ishak. He's the CEO of social media analytics platform Social Bakers, and Natasha Grano, a top social media influence, tomorrow for my Power Talks at 1. And make sure that you tune in so you can get some more insights, because, of course, this is social media stuff, and you know that you're right now trying to figure it out like I am trying to figure it out. So let me see who's out there. No Name Tapper. Hello, sir. Big fan of yours. Love you in your book.